Hey everyone! I'm so excited to be with you all today. I am so grateful to be with you all today. This is just such a wonderful experience. Everybody say hello to Sarathi. Say hello to Sarathi. There we go. And just so you all know, we are here and we are so honored and so excited to be with you on this special day. And we have an incredible session planned for our time together here. And as soon as you can all see and hear me in the chat box, I just want you to type in good morning and type in where you're coming in from today. This is such a blessing that we have to be all together here. And we also just want to check in today as we're testing out this new system with sound and with Sarathi here, that you all can hear me clearly and that you can hear Sarathi clearly and the volume is all good for everyone. We're just checking in. Beautiful. Good morning from Los Angeles. So I am so honored to be with you all here today. And really, we're in for a very special treat. We're in for a very special session because today's session is something that I've been wanting to teach on for quite some time, but I haven't been able to because I wanted to build our capacity up as a community before we dug into a topic that was this important and this deep. And if this is your first time here in the kingdom, I want to welcome you here to the kingdom. And if it's your first time, type in where you're calling in from and what's happening in your world right now and how you're doing. And you'll see that our entire community will welcome you in. I see some of you said the music is a little bit quiet, so I'll just raise that up just a little bit. Don't worry, Sarathi, I got it. And everything I think is going to be perfect. Beautiful. So welcome to the kingdom. There we go. Welcome to the kingdom. And it's really my biggest honor to be here with you all. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you as we continue on is, and let me know if you all can hear the microphone. You know we're getting used to this new system. But one of the things that we wanted to do is I wanted to show you this. This is our heat map right now from where we are all chiming in from all over the world. This is our heat map you can see our community growing and expanding and evolving in the most beautiful and incredible way. And so we are here together. We are rising together from all the way on one side of the world, all the way to Australia and Africa and India and all over Europe and all over the United States and in Brazil. And here we are together. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you all today is because when my team sent this to me after our last session, sent me one of these from our last sessions, I was blown away to see that with all the hatred and all the disintegration that's happening in the world, that we, this community, we are showing the new world. We are coming together. We are proving that this is indeed, you're saying it right there, that this is indeed a global community. And that the world, what we really are, is we are people who want to come together. And so I honor you because I know this is part of what you believe is true about the world and true about your life. And what we believe here at the kingdom, if this is your first time, is that all beliefs are welcome here. And we believe that all biologies are welcome here. And we believe in the power of music to open our hearts and to open our minds. And we believe that wisdom can come from many places. We also believe in an expanded definition of self, meaning that we are not just this individual self in this body, but that we are all connected infinitely to one another, always. And we know that to be true. We also don't just honor or tolerate each other's differences, but we know that we are stronger because of those differences. And ultimately that we rise together. And so as I see you all here, Dion and Sharon and Colleen and Kaylee and Barbara Ann and Devin and my mom and Alonzo and Liz and MK and Carrie and all of you here, Eunice, I wish I could just say all of your names. I just want to welcome you from the deepest place in my heart. And so if this is your first time and you're just coming and joining our community, one of the things that I want you to know about is our format and a little bit of how we work here. And so in our format, we begin with a poem or a prayer, and we begin with a poem or a song, and we always incorporate and infuse music. And so you all saw Sarathi here just a second ago. I'm going to put him back up on the screen. So you all saw Sarathi here. This is Sarathi. I'll put a link to his music in a while, and he's here playing live for us today, which is such a gift and such a blessing to have live music here as we have this time together in this session. And as we continue on, we'll also have our prayer, a moment of prayer, and I'll lead us in a prayer, but then I also give you a chance to say your personal prayer. And then we'll follow that by a teaching, the practice to embody these teachings into your life, a golden nugget so you can take it into your life, and a power action to help you not just be inspired, but be inspired to take action. To take action for your life, to take action for your family, to take action for your community, to take action for one another. And one of the things that I want to invite you to do right now is to give yourself permission. I want you to notice how I'm saying this. To give yourself permission to bring your full attention here today. And the reason why I'm saying permission is because so often we are distracted. So often we are looking and texting and multitasking. Do this, and I understand if you're driving, if you have things to do, if you're cooking or whatever, that's fine. But as best as you can, give yourself permission to bring your full attention. This is your moment for you. Give yourself permission, because I don't want you to miss that one message, that one sentence, that one thing that you needed to, or that you were meant to hear today. And so as we go through this experience, catch yourself when you're noticing that you want to be distracted, and allow yourself to have this time for you. All right? So as we continue on, let us begin now with our prayer. So we'll pull the music out just for a moment and come into our prayer. And at the end of the prayer, you'll hear about 60 seconds of silence. And in those 60 seconds, I invite you to welcome forward your personal prayer, or your personal intention, or something from your own religion to bring forward. Here we go. God, Spirit, universe, all that is, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be, we thank you. Thank you for bringing this community together. Thank you for bringing us together in the space of love and connection. Thank you for this moment that we have to share with so much division happening in the world. Thank you for even giving us the opportunity to see the map that we are all here together across divides, across ethnicities, across every divide that they say should keep us separate. We are here together, and we thank you. May all the words that are spoken here today inspire us to live better lives. May we remember the truth of who we really are, even when we forget. And may this session be protected in all of the technology, new and old, and all the words that are spoken as we go along in the chat box and beyond. May this community support one another and continue to grow and expand as we evolve in our humanity. This is your moment now for your personal prayer. Go ahead and have your hands over your heart and welcome in whatever intention you might have for yourself today. I call upon a divine ray of love and protection, and I draw a circle around this community. And in this circle, I place the white light of peace, the blue light of healing, the clear red light of energy, the pink light of love, the rose-colored light of high vibrations, and the orange light of courage, and the purple light of protection. And I declare that nothing and no one shall come between us and this circle. So it is. Ashe, Aho, Salam, Amen, Sat Nam, Om. Thank you. So here we are. And welcome. I see Senegal is here and the United Kingdom all over. I just am blown away by the power of what we're bringing together here in this community, and blown away by your love and your care and your generosity for one another. So let us dive in to today's teaching, which is on the power of abundance. Now, I told y'all, this is one that I really have been wanting to dive into, and I had to wait a little bit to make sure that we really built up our understanding on things like the power of being, and the power of our vibration, and the power of gratitude, and the power of all these other things that we've welcomed into the world. And making sure that we all know that abundance goes deeper than money, but it also includes it. So we're going to talk about both of those things today. And when we talk about the power of abundance, today we're going to talk about 5 essential abundance mindset shifts that will change your life. Now, as we get started, something that was always really interesting for me, and this is a quote from the Bible, from Matthew, and I'll never forget, I feel like there was no quote in my childhood that was quoted more from the Bible than this. My grandmother, my baka, used to always say this quote: "It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." Hands up if you've heard this one. Show me a hands up emoji. You know what I was thinking in our community here in the chat box? When you hear something that makes you want to say amen or yes, we could throw them 2 hands emojis up. Just doing that in the chat box would be something really fun. I did that on Insight Timer the other day and people loved it. So let me know if you've heard that before, and also what you think it means. I'm curious what you think that quote in particular means. Because when I was younger, I used to assume, I'm going to try something here. I used to assume that that quote meant that if you made money, then you couldn't go to heaven. It was a bad thing to make money or to be rich or to have abundance. But the truth is, that is not what this quote is saying at all. Because when we dig into this, so first of all, we have to understand the context of this all happening in the world and the time at which this was given to us, right? And what I remember thinking is I had this kind of dilemma in my mind as a child, thinking, well, I know I need more money to make a better life for myself and my family, but then I would feel bad, or I would feel greedy, or I would feel selfish anytime I was in the pursuit of money. And this created this dilemma in my mind, wait, but I know that I need this. I know that I need this to actually live out my purpose, to be the vehicle for my message. And then I would have this same time thinking, I shouldn't be wanting this. I should be wanting something different. I should be wanting something greater because, like the quote said, I'm going back to it, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And yes, okay, so Carrie's saying the example here of that, you can't take the material riches with you. That's a good way to think of it. But what a lot of people think is that this is saying that if you make a lot of money or if you're focused on money, then you will not be able to enter the kingdom of heaven. And that if you're too attached to your material things, which Allison is saying here, then it's hard to recognize when it's good. Well, I have a little bit of a different take on this. And one of my favorite quotes about this actually came from a colleague of mine and a friend, Malcolm M.J. Harris, who many of you all know. And I love his quote on this, okay? It says, "Money makes you more of who you already are." I want you to hear me when I'm saying that, because that's the main part of this line. Money makes you more of who you already are. If you're a kind and giving person, it gives you more resources to give more. If you're an asshole, it gives you more resources to be an even bigger asshole. So it's that clear to me. And I'll never forget when he said that to me, because it's such an important concept for us to remember, that I think a big part of what this is saying is that money expands who we are. It is a vehicle that expands our self, the self that we are anchoring into. I know a lot of you all know MJ, it's a brother of mine. And so when you're expanding, and when they're talking about a camel going through an eye of a needle, then a rich man going through the kingdom of heaven, if you are expanding yourself, and that self that you are is not focused on service, is not focused on abundance, which we're going to talk about in a moment, the difference between abundance and money. If you're not focused on the right energy, then you're expanding your evil. You're expanding the things about you that may not be of the highest good. And we don't want to expand those things with our money. We want to expand the truth of who we are. So it starts with who you are being. Who you are being is where this all begins, okay? I love my amen hands happening. Yes, let's keep those going. We're gonna keep this happening every week, the amen hands. It's feeding me too, because I can feel you all. And so this is an important concept. Now, some people, when I was thinking about doing this session, some people wonder, well, why are we talking about money today? Why are we talking about money? And we're not just talking about money. We're talking about money and abundance today, because they're two different concepts. But the reason we're talking about this is because, number one, money is energy. And money as energy is inherently spiritual. Now, check this out. I was shocked when I heard this, actually. So I heard this years ago, and I had to look it up because I almost didn't believe it. Money, when you combine coins and gold and this and that, money is talked about in the Bible more than anything else. Next to, it's number two, the kingdom of God is the only thing that's said more. That line, the kingdom of God. Second to the kingdom of God, money is the second most talked about thing in the entire Bible. Y'all understand? So clearly this is an important topic. And this is a topic, and I'm referencing the Bible today, but you all know, especially if you're new to this community, that I weave in things from different traditions, but this for me was one that was really present for me in my childhood. And so as we understand and we think about, well, why was money mentioned so much in this spiritual text, and it's mentioned in so many other spiritual texts? Well, contextually, let me just be real, like a part of the religious context is around, the church being the wealthiest thing in the world, but at the same time saying that being rich is bad. So we're going to put that in a bubble for a second, just to know that we understand the thing around money and control with the church and religion. But we also need to understand that reason is because money is such an important exchange of energy. We're exchanging it probably more frequently than we're exchanging most other things. And so when I started viewing money as energy, everything changed for me. This is what I have here. Everything changed when I started viewing money as energy. And so we're going to come back to that concept in just a moment and what I mean on a very practical level about this. But let's cover a few other things about why I wanted to talk about this today. So many of us have grown in our spiritual awareness, but our bank accounts don't match what we know to be true about the universe. We believe in abundance. We believe in love. We believe in consciousness. We believe in trusting the universe. We believe in the expanded sense of self. But we've grown in this spiritual awareness, but our bank accounts ain't matching up. And so why is that? It has to be an energetic thing, which we're going to get into today. And then another reason is, for some of us, some areas of our life are abundant, while other areas of our life are not so abundant. So how many of y'all got like abundance in your relationship life or abundance in your well-being, but not abundance in your finances, or abundance in your finances, but not abundance in your love life, or not abundance in your creativity? So we have these areas of our life that are abundant and other areas that are not. And yes, I see Carrie saying this is such a good timing to talk about this because of obviously this place that we're all in this global pandemic and all that's happening in the world. We have to understand this concept of abundance in the most practical of ways and take it out of the kind of woo-woo. Y'all know I like to say that like Oprah says it, the woo-woo, and say it in a way and understand it in a way that can be practical with our lives, which is why I'm going to give you the 5 concepts at the end of today's session. And then the next topic is, and this is a big one. This is a huge one for me. This is probably one of the biggest assets for me around why I focus on abundance. And it's because we want to give. We want to give. We sometimes want to give to our philanthropic efforts. We want to take our friends on trips. I know that I want to do that. We want to support our parents as they get older, our grandparents and the people we love. But sometimes our finances are limited. If it wasn't for the abundance that I've generated in my life, I wouldn't be able to be hosting the kingdom in which I'm paying the musicians and paying for the platform and paying all these things as a gift to our community. Without abundance, the abundance gives me the opportunity to give. Okay? And then lastly, we may already be making good money, but we don't have the freedom in our time to be with the people we love. How many of y'all feel that? This was one that I deal with. I'm making good money, but I'm so busy all the time sometimes that I don't have an abundance of time. Don't have abundance of time. And so this is all really important to think about. And I see you, Anna and Carrie, and everybody talking about what's happening in your jobs and how it pays and all these different things. But you're going to understand this a little bit differently as we get into this concept today. And so, like I mentioned, everything changes when I started viewing money as energy. And I want to read a little passage for you to make this practical from one of my favorite books that many of you all know. I mention it all the time, The Wisdom of Sundays. And this is a page on page 82 by a conversation between Oprah and Michael Bernard Beckwith. And this is Oprah's book. This is one of my favorite books. I talked about it last week that you all will know about. And so let me read this passage, all right? So here's our reading time. And my book's all dirty because I travel all over the world with this one. So it starts with Oprah. And Oprah says, let's talk about vibration. Michael, you use it a lot in your teachings. And I don't know when I first understood that there is an energy and a frequency to everything. And that your whole role and goal in life is to line up with whatever is the frequency that's going to allow you to move in the flow of your life. So that's what Oprah said. And then Michael Bernard Beckwith responded with this. Okay? Exactly, Oprah. We are vibrational beings. We're not just flesh and blood. If you put anything under a microscope, you're going to ultimately see that everything is vibration. And as the scientists are now telling us, there is information there inside of you, but it's not solid. It's always moving. So we are vibrational beings because it's always moving. So as you were just saying, Oprah, when we lift our vibration to what we want to experience, it happens first on a vibratory level, and then it shows up and manifests in our lives. So when people are holding on to rancor and animosity, and what's happening is they're slowing down their vibration. Okay? And so then Oprah says this. Oprah goes, I just had an aha there. So y'all know her aha moments. She says, you're saying that when you recognize your vibrational frequency, you're drawing into yourself all the time, literally, the vibration that is most like what you're putting out. I want you guys to make sure you understand what I'm saying here. The vibration that you are putting out is what you are drawing into yourself. And so everybody talks about this law of attraction. The law of attraction is under the law of vibration, because what you're vibrating out, you're drawing back into you. So listen to this part. This is the real reason why I'm reading this to you, is this next quote from Michael Beckwith. He said, right. Another way of saying it is you cannot have what you're not willing to become vibrationally. You see, this is why people that win the lottery, they lose everything. They'll finally get the person that they think they want to be with, and then they can't keep the relationship. Or they'll get this moment of success, but can't hold on to it, a modicum of success, but can't hold on to it, because inside they were not vibrationally aligned. They really hadn't become it. So you can temporarily manipulate to get things, but to have it completely, you have to lift your vibration and become that in the vibration. You're not attracting things to you. You're radiating. You're radiating from within out. So if I become the vibrational frequency of love, harmony, peace, and I'm radiating that, then it's going to show up in my life. Do you all understand this? So this abundance concept, which is why next I'm getting into the difference between abundance and money, and understanding the difference between abundance and wealth, is because just like Oprah and Michael Beckwith were talking about, as it relates to the vibration of abundance, we have to be radiating that in our life to welcome it in all domains of our lives. And so let me talk very clearly about the word abundance. It comes from, and you all know I love geeking out on this kind of stuff. So the word abundance comes from this root in Latin, abundare. When I say it, I feel like it sounds Italian, abundare. And so abundare is overflowing. And so abundance means having a very large quantity of something, or a situation in which there is more than enough of something. More than enough of something. And so I want you to understand, as we're talking about having more than enough, it's like, the library has an abundance of books. I heard somebody say the other day, the forest has an abundance of trees or animals or plants. Los Angeles has an abundance of sun now that the smoke's not out. And so abundance, this is the reason why I'm saying those silly examples, is because abundance casts a wider net than money through all 5 domains of our life. We can talk about abundance in relation to the whole of our lives. Whereas money is one specific concept in which abundance can manifest. And so I want to just remind you all, this is all in my book, Stay Woke, that we have 5 life zones, 5 different zones of life that are scientifically studied that show us where we find happiness and fulfillment in our lives. And so one of those ways is our work and career. The second is creativity, passions, and hobbies. The third, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And then number 4 is relationships. And then number 5 is financial freedom. So you can see that all these areas of our lives we can apply abundance to. So when we're talking today, I want you to remember the distinction between abundance and money. And we're going to get into that in more detail in just a moment. Now, let's talk about the definition of money. Just to be clear here. So money is looked at, right, as the assets, the property, the resources that are owned by someone or something, often looked at as wealth. It is a symbol. And it's one of the many things, the many different things that can manifest through having an abundant mindset. And so this is an important concept that I wanted to say. Oftentimes, and I hate when people say this, I really hate it, that money is a symbol of freedom. So I get it, that it is in some ways. But I also need us to understand this, okay? This is really important, is that money is only a symbol of freedom in our capitalistic society context. Money itself doesn't mean anything. For us, it's a piece of paper. It ain't even a piece of paper. It's a little number on your phone, right? Little plastic card that means all these things, right? You get the plastic card that so many of us got in March, from the government when everything got canceled with the unemployment checks, And so it doesn't mean anything. It's paper, but it becomes a symbol for freedom in a capitalistic society. And y'all know that most of the time I'm trying to push against these systems and structures. But today, I just want to be very clear that as I'm talking about money as freedom, I'm talking about it within. I'm letting myself talk about it within this societal structure that we live in. And so just to give you all some context for this and how it could be different, I did some research, and I don't know if you're all going to be able to read this or not on your screen, so I'm going to read it to you very carefully. It was a quote that I found in my research from Wayode O'Clerc Stern, who is a woman who is a part of the Comanche Nation of Oklahoma. It's a native and indigenous Native American tribe, okay? And this was fascinating when I read this, okay? And it talks about how you can understand a difference around wealth and what it means. And so this is a different take on it. This is the quote exactly. It says, "We traditionally function internally in their tribe with what is called a gifting economy. You see, instead of individuals and families gaining social prestige by hoarding wealth in the form of money or things, we accumulate social power by giving things away. This way, the person who has fed the most hungry people, given the most lavish gifts, has the most respect and power. Think of it this way. The most respected healer isn't the one who charges the most in exchange for their healing. No, it's the healer who not only heals the sick, but they also feed the sick person's family and sends everyone away with a gift when the healing is over. Everyone in this tribe is competing to give more and better, to raise their social status through generosity." Isn't that fascinating? So this is a different way of looking at abundance, right? This is abundance through giving. And anyone who's been to Burning Man, which unfortunately we couldn't go this year, but Burning Man works on this kind of gifting economy, right? And so there's different ways of looking at abundance. But the truth is, ultimately, okay, as we come back to money, the truth is that money is inherently spiritual because it reveals what we value and what we believe in. What we value and what we believe in. And so I want you to know, and I see so many of you mentioning Lynn Twist's book. Lynn Twist's book is fantastic, by the way. The Spirit of Money, or whatever it's called. I know some of you mentioned it here. The Soul of Money. Get that book if you want to learn more about money. It's so fantastic to understand. And Lynn Twist is an incredible leader in the world as well. So I can recommend that to you all as well for people who want to dive in. I think she has some online programs too. And so this is something that I want to say is that your desire for money does not make you greedy or bad. And I'm coming back to this because of exactly what we talked about in the beginning, about that quote from the Bible of it being easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to come through the kingdom of heaven, and understanding as a child and thinking that meant that money was bad, but having this weird concept around it all. I'm coming back to that because your desire for money does not make you greedy or bad. It helps you become more of who you really are. It's a tool. It's a vehicle for that. And so this next section that I have here is super important, okay? Is that, and this is something that my baka, my grandma, always said to me, is that money is not your God. It is a resource for you to use, not something to worship or praise. Allow it to come through and let it show you and let it become more of the true essential nature of who you are. And I know all of us in this community, we want to be good people. We want to be people who give and belong in social justice movements and are making the world a better place for us all. And don't worry, I know this sounds like one of them church sermons where I'm about to pass around a donation bucket. I'm not, so don't worry. We don't do that here, okay? This is a gift to you. But this money abundant mindset that we're all in allows us to spread our message further, allows us to change the world. It allows us to become the vehicle for good that we all know that we want to be. And one of my mantras as of late, and I have rarely ever shared this with anybody, but I'm going to share it with you all right now. It's part of one of the mantras that I've been living into lately. And I said it, I believe, in one of our last sessions, just lightly, but it's this. I focus my attention on service, and I welcome in abundance. So notice the difference in that. Notice the difference in I'm just focusing on money versus I'm focusing on service and I welcome in the abundance. I don't turn away the abundance. I don't say because I'm focusing on service, I can't have abundance, that having abundance is bad. I welcome it as I keep the aim. I keep the arrow right into the heart of service. And so that's what I want to inspire us to do today as we go into the rest of our teachings. So let's get in to our main dish for today, which is the 5 essential abundance mindset shifts that you need to know. I'm just going to take one sippy sip. So these are the 5 essential abundance mindset shifts. And when you shift your mindset around abundance, and y'all, I'm just gonna tell y'all, okay? I'm gonna look at you straight up. I've had to do a lot of mindset shifts around abundance, okay? Around my story around money, around how money came in my life, like around my relationship to money. And you all know we inherit that from our families and our parents, and it gets passed down, which is why the concept of reparations and equality and what's happened with slavery and all of that has such important context around our relationship and story of money, because that gets passed down. And in my own healing, many of you all know, people when they sometimes see me or hear me speak think I grew up in this privileged ass neighborhood or environment. Y'all, I grew up in what most people would call the hood. We didn't know it was the hood. I lived in the nicer part of the hood, but we still had gunshot holes on the outside of my house. You know, and I say this all the time to remind you all that I've been there with you, with many of you. And I don't mean that we've all been in the same spot, but I've been there with you in terms of having to shift my relationship to this. For me to get to the point of making 6 figures by the time I was 23, and I don't say that to brag, and to continue evolving in the ways that I have, to be able to give in the ways that I want to give, I have to constantly and continue to shift and unpack my relationship to money. And so I'll tell you one story, and then I'm going to give you some mindset checks that you want to check in with your own relationship. One of my money stories that I have grown with, and this is, you know, there's the gift and the shadow. So growing up in our family, the story around money, so I'll say it this way. I did not know, I genuinely, y'all, did not know that we were poor until I got to college. I used to say we're middle class. I didn't know. I didn't know. And that was because, and then when I look back, I'm like, how the hell did my mom do that? A single mom, 3 kids, taking care of my grandma, making, I don't know, like $30,000 a year, something like that. Right? My mom will tell you what the actual number is if she wants to in the chat box, but something like that. And I'm thinking now, how does she do that? And that created one thing in our lives, which of us always having the belief that we could do whatever we wanted, that we could go wherever we wanted, that we had the capacity and ability, no matter who we were, to go and be wherever we wanted. And this was a story that we had. But the second story that created with money in our family and in my life was, it's always going to work out. It's just always going to work out. Doesn't matter. It's always going to work out. Right? And so that's a positive thing in one sense. It was like, it's always going to work out. But then it becomes blind when you end up with $30,000 in credit card debt and it's all going to work out. You know what I mean? And so how is it, and that all it's going to work out? It has a good side and it has a shadow side. So we have to inspect the shadow side. So the shadow side for me around money, just being very vulnerable with you all, was like, I was the person, and I still am sometimes, where I like I don't even know. I go to the grocery store. I don't even know how much it costs. I don't even look. I don't even know. And sometimes I end up, oh my God, why did I spend so much on that? Well, it's all going to work out. And with my music career, when I launched, many of you know the story of me planning my whole music tour going internationally and spending $12,000 rehearsing and on lighting and all this stuff. And then the shows getting canceled. And then I was in crazy debt. And I was spending because I was like, it's all going to work out. And so you all have to understand your story around money and abundance. And yes, there's some positive sides and there's also some negative sides. So let's do a quick mindset check today around our abundance and money stories. And I want to see which ones you all relate to. And you can type into the chat box if any of them relate to you. Okay? So number one, I want to see what Allison's saying here because people love in Allison's comment. Allison said, this rings so true. Circumstances in my life changed almost 2 years ago, and I went from being a person without money to a person who has money, and I found that I am the exact same person and able to be myself even more generous, more adventurous, more determined to make the world better. I am so grateful. Allison, I don't know if y'all just felt that, but I felt that in my heart when you just said that. I felt that in my heart. Thank you so much for sharing that, Allison. This is so true, okay? So here are some money mindset checks that I want us to all get into right now before we go into the 5 shifts. These are just kind of like a check to see where you are. Have you ever thought any of these things? And if you have, you can type them in, whatever it is, or just put your hands up. First one, rich people are selfish or unspiritual. That's one. Have you ever thought this? If I become really rich, I won't have time with my loved ones. So that's saying you have an abundance mindset maybe about money, but saying that there's a limitation about your abundance of time and they can't exist together. And the third one, if I want to earn more money, then I'm going to have to work a lot harder. So that's one. Another mindset shift. Understanding that there actually is not a correlation. There doesn't have to be between hard work and money. Can't be true. Because sometimes the people who are doing the hardest labor and the hardest work, everybody working 60 hours a week would be rich if that was the case. That's not true. But sometimes we believe these are things in our minds. The next one, this is one I heard a long time. Money is the root of all evil. How many of y'all heard that and believe that? Not just heard it, but believe it. Okay? And you have to check in with yourself. Sometimes we don't really believe these things, but deep down, or we don't think we believe these things rather, but deep down, these things are within us. Okay? Here's another one. People are going to turn on me or want too much from me if I make money. Or if I even live in the abundance that I am. This makes some of us hide who we really are because we're worried that people are going to want too much from us. But really, this is around boundaries and us holding our own boundaries. Okay, I'm going to read Carrie's here. Carrie said her childhood message was, practicality is required to be successful and financially secure. Following dreams and passions is foolish and selfish. Carrie, I feel you on that. I think so many of us grew up with that message as well. I want to add that to the list. Here's another mindset check. Becoming more financially successful is going to come with a lot of problems. How many for that? We've all heard that. More money, more problems. Carrie, I'm copying yours, by the way, and putting it in for the next time I teach this. I think this is a really important concept. So thank you for saying that. I just literally added it to my document. So thank you. And then the next one, super important. Oops, I clicked on the wrong screen. Here's the next one. If I take time off, my business or my finances will fall apart. That's a big one. I know I have this one. I used to, at least. I got solved when I went to Burning Man the first time 6 years ago. But if I take time off, if I take time away, everything's going to fall apart. That's a belief. And if that's our belief, then we set up our world to be like that. And then this one, you should just be happy for what you have. Wanting more is greedy. You should just be happy for what you got. You shouldn't want more. I know Jeannie's saying her husband needs to hear this. You could pass the recording on, girl. I know there's so many of us who need to hear this. All right, so these are just mindset checks that you want to check in. How many of these might I unconsciously be believing and allowing to persist? Just check in with yourself on that as I take a sip of water. You'll see my Esalen water bottle I've had since our first session. It's my favorite little water bottle from the retreat center in Big Sur. So let's go to the next topic and get into our 4 money mindsets. Okay, so number 1, this is a big one. I want y'all to listen to me very carefully. Money doesn't buy happiness. How many of you have heard this and believe this to be true? I have to start here, because if I don't start here, then we're going to mess up. The whole thing's going to be messed up. How many of you have heard that money doesn't buy happiness? Here's the truth. I see y'all. The truth is, that is false. Science has proven it. Money actually does buy happiness, but only up to a certain dollar amount. There has been so many studies on this that I focused on it in my book. And I'm going to tell you why I'm choosing to start with this in a moment. Okay? Here's the study. A 2010 study of Americans showed that people get noticeably happier with every dollar earned up to a threshold of $75,000 in America for your household. Beyond that threshold, however, the level of happiness that you get from every dollar decreases. For example, there's a substantial increase in happiness from $20,000 to $40,000 in your household, but not as significant of an increase from $1 million to $2 million. And so basically what this means, and I need you all to know, is that money does buy happiness, but only up to a certain dollar amount. And until your basic needs are met, money is vital to happiness for everyone. And so the reason why I'm starting on this before we get into the other aspects of abundance is it's so easy for some of us to write off money like it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. It's going to let it come, like whatever. But you have to understand that if you're in that first category in your household, and it is about a dollar amount in the study, the way they studied it, but it's about your basic needs being met. If you're in that first category, you should not use that old mindset that I was thinking of when I first heard that Bible quote about it's greedy or bad. It's okay. Because you're going to realize that you have this underlying stress inside of you if you don't have your basic needs met. And so in that case, it's okay to just get your bag. Just secure the bag. Get the coins, okay? Because this is so important. It's up to a certain point. After that point, it's just like it doesn't make that big of a difference anymore. And then you're able to really start focusing on other things. And this is why everyone that you hear that's talking about poverty and equality and reparations and all this is why everyone's saying that. Because if we don't have just our basic needs met, if humanity is not able to live in that way, then we can't start stepping in to the fullness of who we really are. Now, I also want to put this in context because I know we have a lot of people in different countries here. That study was for the United States. What you also need to know is that all of us here on this call, I'm going to assume all of us, if you're making more than $30,000 in a year, you are in the top 1% globally in terms of financial abundance in humanity. Globally. So we in the United States, we who live in a Western world, we who have laptops and computers and going on this, we actually are super privileged as it relates to the whole world. And so it's important to put that also in context, right? Like all of this that we're talking about is already from a state of privilege and already wanting more. But this is why the equality, and all of this matters so much as it relates to this concept. You all know that I'm always going to bring it back there. And so let's continue to abundance mindset shift number 2. So number 1 was understanding that money does buy happiness up to a certain dollar amount. Number 2 is about shifting from the mindset of having to the mindset of experiencing. Okay, from the mindset of having that kind of abundance mindset to the mindset of experiencing. Let me explain what I mean by this with number 2. You have to shift the focus from how much I have to what kind of life do I want to live. Real financial freedom. I want you to hear me. Real financial freedom is this question to me. Do you have enough to do what you want, when you want, and how you want, without worry or constraint? Do you have enough to do what you want, when you want, and how you want, without worry or constraint? And so when I say this one here, from have to experience, what most people think I'm talking about, which I am to a certain extent, is shifting from having things, to having experiences, which all the studies do show that people who spend their money on experiences are happier in their life than people who spend money on things. But I want to go deeper than that. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about understanding that when I was younger, I used to always think that real financial freedom meant that I needed to keep earning more and 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 more. And the more that I have, then the better and the happier that I would be. And then obviously feeling bad about it. So you have to understand what financial freedom really means to you, and shifting to what kind of life do you want to live and what that means for you. Now, let me break this down, because I really want you to understand the depth of what this means by experience, because it's not just about, going on trips. Yes, the studies show that makes people happier, but that's not what I'm talking about. What life, you have to ask yourself this, what life do I want to live for myself? And how much energy or money would it take to make that dream a reality? Understand this, okay? I knew for my dream, and you can't compare yourself to other people's dream. And this is why I always talk about the vision and going to that future self. I knew for my dream that I would need to have a staff. I would have to have an assistant. I would have to have a team, and that I would also have to pay, and that there would be albums and music videos and editors and people like Sarathi playing here, and projects where I could give back to the community, and even the costs of creating a program like this. But the amount of energy, I want you to remember, we're talking about money as energy, that I need to be moving through me in my life is different than the amount of energy that somebody who their dream is to live in a small space in nature with just their family and sit and write. There's nothing wrong with that dream. Both dreams are amazing. If you want to stay close to home with your family and have your parents live with you, that's going to have a different energetic requirement than my dream or than someone else's dream. And so this is why I started earlier talking about money as energy, because you have to be able to finance the life that you want to live, finance it energetically. So that's how I think about it. How much energy do I have to have the capacity to hold as that energy moves through me? And so I am not the money. I am not the abundance. I am not even holding it. I'm having the container. I'm creating a vibration. Do you see how it's all coming together? A vibration within myself to have the capacity to allow that level of energy, of abundance, to pass through and move through me so that I could make my dream a reality. And so this is why you have to get with your vision. And this is why keeping up with the Joneses doesn't work. And this is why buying all the things doesn't work. Because when you're comparing your vision and the amount of energy that you need for your vision to what somebody else needs for their vision, you end up in the wrong spot. Okay? And so this is super important. And what I mean by have versus experience. It's not just about going on trips and all that, it is about that, but it's more about what kind of a life do you want to experience. Y'all understand me? Let me get some amen hands if y'all get me on this one. Let's move to the next one. This is a big one for me. Shifting from an either or mindset to a both and mindset. Either or mindset to a both and mindset. So I'm just gonna be real with y'all, okay? So I'll tell you my either or that I've had to work through, okay? My either or mindset that I have built throughout my entire life. First one, okay, I had 2 of them. First one is this, that somebody else said that they had earlier too. I think it was Carrie, that I had to sacrifice working for my passion and being artistically free. I had to sacrifice that to make money. That was my first either or. It's an either or mindset. This is what we're trying to get away from. I can either have passion or I can have money, okay? That is one that a lot of us deal with. What you want to go into is shifting your mindset. Remember, it's not just about money, but to a both and situation. And so this is where people say you can't have it all. That's just not true. They're only saying that to you because they don't know how to have it all. You can, but lots of people do. The trick is, what do you want? What do you want? And we have to get out of this mindset of thinking that life has to be an either or into a both and. I can have my passion and I can have the relationship. And this isn't, again, remember, we're talking about abundance. So this isn't just about money. So I can have the financial success and I can have the relationship success or the passion success. Or you can take it all out of that context. I can have physical health in my body and I could have a thriving relationship and career. I can have artistic freedom and I can stay committed to my passion and I could be deeply in a loving relationship. So you have to remember that these concepts around all 5 domains of life that I talked about, we sometimes think, well, if I have this area, then I can't have this one. This is about recognizing that it's not either or, it's both and. And I'm going to encourage you to look at what areas of your life that you do this in outside of just money. Now let's get into number 4 of 5. This is a big one, okay? And I listened this weekend to actually an abundance webinar that I listened to with Mary Morrissey. One of my friends invited me onto this webinar it was so perfect because I knew I was teaching on abundance. And then there was this webinar and I was like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to learn from here. And this is one of my main takeaways from Mary Morrissey that I thought was fantastic. She said, shifting from a get mindset to a be mindset, okay? From get to be. And what that means is this. Oftentimes, the first bullet point that you see is we say this: once I get blank, then I will be blank. Once I get this money, then I will be happy. Once I get in shape, then I'll be worthy of a relationship. Once I step then I will be this. Once I retire, then I will be this. Y'all see how it goes, right? How many of y'all guilty of this? We're all guilty of this in some area of our life. Remember, this is about abundance, so it casts a wider net than just money. It's about more than money. So think about the other areas of your life where this might apply, where you do this. And what we want to do is reverse that. We need to reverse that. And it turns into, once I become blank, then I will get blank. Once I become love, then I will receive love. Once I become joy, then I will receive joy in my life. This is exactly what Oprah and Michael Beckwith were talking about in the beginning story that I read. Once you become it, I'm just going to read this right here again, okay? You are not attracting it. You are radiating. You are radiating from within out. So if I become the vibrational frequency of love, harmony, and peace, and I'm radiating that, it's going to show up in my life. I had a big aha in the bathtub this morning thinking about this, okay? I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about relationships and just thinking about, wow, like what does it really deeply mean to like love myself? Like if I want that kind of love in my life from a partner, to really love myself, what does that mean to love me? Just like I would want that partner to love me. And this doesn't mean that you have to become perfect to have the partner. No, it means that energy, you're growing into it and you're radiating it from inside out. Okay, and I want to say, one of my friends, Ariel Ford, who invited me to that webinar, she's an incredible writer, and teacher and author and all the things. And one of the biggest things, I'll say this about love, because I know a lot of people have this, say that, oh, you have to love yourself first before you can find true love. Okay, I want to break this down. That's not necessarily true, because being in a relationship, a loving, committed relationship, scientifically, psychologically, is all proven to actually help you love yourself more, because the person that you're with teaches you how to love yourself in the ways that you don't know how. And so we learn that we have this deficiency of love. But what I'm saying in this abundance mindset is not you have to love yourself fully first before you'll be ready to receive somebody who can love you. No, it's saying that you are bringing a loving mindset to all of who you are. So even the moments when you're not loving yourself, even the moments when you're looking at that lower belly thinking that, oh, I'm not looking so good, or I'm not as in the best shape that I'm in, or even when you're in that bad mindset, that you bring the energy of love to that. Do you understand? It's not about being this perfect, I love myself all the time. It's about bringing that energy of love to even the darkest, most shadow aspects of yourself. And when you do that, then you are already radiating love so that someone else doesn't have to come in and find this perfect version of you, but they are coming into a space where you're already loving yourself for all facets of who you are. Are y'all with me? And so I want to make sure that you understand that. This toxic concept that you have to be perfect before you can be in a relationship or find love, nothing scientifically proves that. Being in a relationship teaches you how to love yourself more. It's about bringing love to all of who you are. Recognizing that there's an abundance of love. There's so much love that there's even enough love to love the parts of you that are hard to love. And this is what goes back into church and religion, right? This goes back into what they're talking about God and Jesus, that there was so much love, that it even healed the sins of the world. That level of abundance. Yes, Ubuntu, all of it. And that's where this is talking about with religion. Okay, so it's about letting it come through you. Anyway, y'all just saw I got taken over by the Spirit for that one. So that's a big one, okay? So shifting from get to be. Once I become this, then I will get this. Beautiful. Let's hit the final point. Oh, and I'll just throw this in there. This was a quote that I just threw in. This is from my book. You get what you are, not what you want. And those of you who missed the very first kingdom, go on YouTube and watch it, because this is probably the most important topic and why I started with it, and I go more deeply into that here. So, final mindset shift, number 5, is to shift from the perspective of lack to the perspective of blessed. From lack to blessed. And this is essential. It's not about spiritually bypassing. It's not about not noticing the things that are wrong in your life, but it's about constantly noticing. It's a practice, constantly remembering and noticing the gifts that God, the universe, spirit, the divine, whatever it is that you believe in, that power greater than us, constantly remembering and noticing and giving thanks for the things that you do have. And so this doesn't mean, let me pay attention to all these things I do have and say that I don't want more, or say that I can't have more, or say that it's greedy or wrong to have more, or say that I'm ignoring the things that are wrong in my life. I'm ignoring all the shadow. That's not that. It's saying, remember, both and. I am so grateful for these blessings in my life, even if they're simple. And I welcome in more. And I'm ready for more. And I can heal. And I am enough. And I am not deficient. Both and. Just because you want to grow, just because you want more, doesn't mean you're deficient. You are not deficient. So many of us in the personal growth world come from this state of something's wrong with us. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You're exactly where you're meant to be, baby. Exactly where you're meant to be. And just because you want to grow doesn't mean something's wrong. And so we count the blessings. We recognize them. I have my gratitude journal right across the room right there. And I did a whole session on gratitude for those of you who haven't done it. I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, we did the gratitude kingdom session, which if you want to get into that, you'll see how powerful the practice of gratitude is when you understand the science behind it and not just, oh, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for whatever. So those are the 5 concepts. So we go from 5 essential mindset shifts. Number 1, money does buy happiness. Number 2, shifting from having mindset to an experience mindset. What kind of life do I want? Number 3, shifting from either or to both and. Both and. Number 4, shifting from getting mindset to a being mindset. And number 5, shifting a perspective of lack to a perspective of being blessed and noticing when you're blessed, because there is abundance around you always and always. And our job is to expand our vibration so that we can step in to the fullness and the abundance that is always around us, that's always waiting for us to match it, to vibrate with it, so that we can step into the fullness and the abundance that is our life. So I gave y'all a lot today. I told y'all it was a big teaching. And so I want to go into our next practice, which we do in every single one of our kingdoms, which is the Golden Nugget. So go ahead, just for a moment, place your hands over your heart. Close your eyes if you're willing. I know there's a lot of energy moving right now. So just be with all of that. Take one more deep breath in and a breath out. And just letting the kind of tornado and swirl of everything that you learned today just kind of land. Let it all fall to the ground inside of your inner self. And see if one concept bubbles up to the surface as the one main thing that you want to take away from today, because you're not going to remember everything. So of everything that you learned today, what is the number one main concept that you want to remember? Think about it. Scientifically, it takes between 30 and 45 seconds to commit something to your long-term memory. So think about it now. And then, of course, as we always do, when you're ready, take a breath in and out, open your eyes, and type your golden nuggets into the chat box so that we can have a beautiful cascade of golden nuggets coming through. And now it's time, after you type that in, take your time to get into our practice, our little practice for today. And taking a little sippy. Beautiful. Be instead of do. Joseph, growing from an infant to a toddler doesn't mean it's bad to be a baby. It means the child is finished with that stage of development. Chris, that's amazing. That's such an amazing way to put it. I've never heard someone put it quite that way. There's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with the growth. Shift from get to be. Alonzo, be. Allison, I can be 100% grateful for everything in my life and want more. Yes, without feeling bad about it. I am blessed and I welcome in greater abundance. You are radiating within out. My job is to expand my vibration so I can step into the fullness and abundance that is always around me. Shift from get to be. I can have it all. Heart. Love y'all. This is amazing. So let's do our quick practice. So today's practice is very simple, actually. So I want you to, if you have something to write with, this would be a good moment. I should have mentioned that to you in the beginning, but you don't have to. But writing it down will make this a little easier for you. So these are the 5 life zones, okay? And what I want you to do is to think about which area of your life do you need to bring more abundance to most? Is it your work and career? Is it your creativity, your passions, and your hobbies? Do you need more abundance there? Is it in your physical, emotional, or spiritual well-being? Do you need to learn more? Do you need to exercise more? Do you need more abundance and opportunities to do that? Do you need more support for your emotional growth? Do you need more abundance in your relationships, whether it's bringing more friends in or more romantic partners or partner in? And is it money? Is it more about financial freedom? And remembering, financial freedom is a number that is for you, your own number to create the life that you need to finance and that you want to live. And so which area of your life do you feel like you need more abundance in? And I would love for you all to type that into the chat box so that you can claim it and just write it down for a moment. Okay? And once you type that in, which area, and you can feel free to elaborate, we're going to go into a very short practice. Very, very short practice. So here it is. Hands over the heart. Y'all know how we do. Eyes closed. If you're willing and ready. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Beautiful. And now just call into your mind whatever area of your life you thought about, of those 5 zones. Which area of your life did you choose? Just call that into your mind's eye. And now I want you to imagine, what would your life look like practically if you brought more abundance to that area of your life? What would that actually mean? What would that actually look like? What is the finished result of that? So fast forward, it can be a year from now, a month from now, 5 years from now, doesn't matter, whatever it is that feels right to you. Fast forward, many of you have done the future self meditation with me. And let's imagine you can rub a magic lamp and you've brought all that abundance in that one area of your life that you need it. And I want you to see if you can see a future version of yourself who's living in that abundance. And notice in this vision, are you indoor or are you outdoor? Notice as you look at this future you with this abundance, what color are you wearing? What color are your shoes if you're wearing them? What kind of environment are you in? And most importantly, how have you shifted energetically as you look at this future you to welcome in this abundance? What has shifted about you to welcome in this abundance? And lastly, just notice how it feels. How does it feel in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, in your emotional state, in your whole soul, to be living with that level of abundance? How does it feel? Name it, or even just feel it. And then see if you can just mark this feeling. Notice, using all of your senses, how does it feel? How does it taste? What are you noticing? Mark it, pin it so you can remember it and come back to it later. Then take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Beautiful. Feel free to type anything else in here that you would like. I love all your comments coming through. And this leads me to our power action. This is a very simple action that you're going to have for the next week. For the next week, what I would like you all to do is, for just a moment when you first wake up every day, just a moment, it could be 30 seconds, I want you to drop back in to that vision that you just came up with. Drop back in to that space of abundance. Drop back into that. And what that means is you just maybe close your eyes for a second, you imagine it, but the most important thing is to drop into how it feels. It doesn't have to be a whole meditation. It's just boom, you're going back to that place. 7 days. every day. And then notice what changes in your life. This is magic because this will help you understand how you need to change at the vibrational level so that you can welcome in the abundance that you really desire. Okay? This is how it works. This is how it works. So, very simple action. And if you want to take it further, you can take this into a meditation and you can start understanding the energy and start trying to call forth the vibration. But at the simplest level, what we all need to do, step one, is imagine it. And this is because, most importantly, you deserve. I want you to hear me when I'm saying this to you. I'm speaking to you. Yes, you. You deserve to live in the freedom and abundance that is your birthright. You deserve. You do. I know sometimes you think you don't, but you do, my darlings. Or my darling, because I'm talking to each one of you. And I just want to thank you for being with us today in today's teaching and session about the power of abundance. I want to thank Sarathi for being here with us today. Back on the screen. Sarathi, you are wonderful. Thank you so much for blessing us with your magic and your gifts and your skills. Our community is so grateful to have you here. And I'll make sure to put a link in the chat box to Sarathi's music. His Instagram is at _Sarathi _2 underscores. And as we close today, I'm just going to offer you all just a short moment of song. So Sarathi, if you keep playing. We are free. We are free. We are free. We are free. And you deserve to live inside the beauty that is your birthright, 'cause you are free. We are free. Oh, we are free. You are free. You can sing that with me. We are free. Oh, we are free. We are free. We are free. So I hope you all had a fantastic session of the Kingdom today. I love you. I thank you. I honor you. And I want you to remember that we are free. May you be happy. May you be well. And may you always find peace. I love you. And I'll see you right here in this special place next Sunday.